All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode, our last episode of season 6, 6 years of doing this. I am your host, Adam Smith. The podcast is How I Met Your Mortgage, put on by Just the Tips Coaching. And with me, as always, is my co host, our marketing director, one of our other coaches, superhuman Yogi Sommier, newlywed Jen Wayborhart. Hey, Jen.
Hi, Adam.
How are you this morning? I know the answer to that. It's a Monday. Very
It's a
cool.
Monday.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we have a really cool guest today for our final episode of year 6. So let's welcome to the show Tanya Stevenson. Hi, Tanya.
Thank you. Hi there.
Oh, there we are. Now I can hear her.
Thank
Were
you
you
for having me.
Oh, no, our pleasure. Jen, you were having some audio difficulty there as well. It wasn't
Yeah.
just me. All right. So, Tanya, have you been on our show before?
I have not. No, this is my
Okay.
first time.
Okay. I thought that was the case, but it seemed so familiar. I did a little digging. We've run in similar circles for years. We've been social media connections for a long time. And if memory serves, you and Jen are almost in the same area. You're in Colorado Springs, Colorado?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I saw that.
Yeah.
And Jen is close. She is a Monument resident, so certainly very, very close.
Are you?
there.
Okay.
Guys are basically neighbors. Well, Tanya, give us a little background about you. How long have you been doing this? And I should probably let our audience know
Sure.
that you are a Colorado real estate agent. So certainly, how long have you been doing this? How did you get started? What in the world made you think you wanted to be in this crazy game? But yeah, give us the background.
Sure. So I'm actually a 4th generation native of Colorado Springs, and I've been a realtor 27 years, so kind of a long time. I got in because my mother, Sandy Daniels, had been a realtor in the 80s and 90s. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun. We joined forces, started Park Avenue Properties in 1996. Since then, Sandy has retired. I have 3 grandkids, and she loves spending time with them. So that's just a little bit of background on me and how I ended up in this crazy business.
We don't have a lot of guests on the show that have that kind of longevity. That really speaks volumes. All right.
Really?
So well, I mean, let's think about that from just a
Okay.
logical statistics perspective.
Mhm.
And I'm sure they're skewed now because of what's gone on the last couple of years. But NAR tells us that 80% of agents fail in the first 2 years, 85% in the first 5.
Mhm.
So the number of agents that even go past that mark, let alone 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years on and on, is rare, really rare. I mean, it's really rare that I come across somebody that's been doing this as long as I have. That's really unique, no question.
Yeah.
I am going to trump you. My kids,
Yeah.
well, I guess yours are too, but my kids are 5th generation Colorado natives. And my dad and
Yep.
his dad
So am
and
I.
his
Yep.
dad all went to school here in the Denver area. I grew up here in the Denver area, and
Okay.
yeah, my kids will be the 5th generation to experience that. Although I guess they have kind of grown up, or at least the majority of them. I've got a couple of adult children, so one left to get out of the house, get off the
Sure.
government teat, as it
Same,
were.
I'm the same. I have one more, and I'm
Okay.
almost an empty nester.
Yeah, working on it. That's a big goal.
Sure.
Although I have spent, I guess, the majority of my adult life, well, at least near it, parenting. So that'll be a unique experience for sure. It would be strange to have a quiet house, but we'll see what the future brings for that. So tell us about your business. Who is it? Who else? We know that your mom has retired. But I assume that there are
Yes.
other agents, support staff. What does your team structure look like?
Actually, I at one point had a larger team, and I just decided it wasn't for me. I personally like being more hands-on in my business with my clients. So I do have a Jen on my team as well. Her name's spelled pretty similar. She is a licensed transaction coordinator. She's been with me almost 9 years. She also does assistant duties for me. She's fantastic. So it's just Jen and I kind of running the team. And it's just, for me, it's been more efficient. And like I said, I like spending more time with my clients versus managing. I didn't like managing and training, and that's just not really my forte.
I don't think any of us in the industry would.
Just,
Jen, are you having the same lag with Tanya that I am? Okay,
sorry.
good. So, all right. No, that's okay.
Internet delay.
There's an internet delay? Okay. And Tanya, I don't think any of us would argue that being a managing broker or a broker owner and having other agents, and that's true on our side as well in the mortgage space, it's tantamount to adult daycare. It's certainly not the same as
I was going to say that, but I wanted to be nice.
Oh, no, no need for that, because, this is certainly a very transparent presentation. So your operation is pretty boutique, but I think that there's something that our audience should pick up on, and Jen probably already knows where I'm going with this, but that your cohort, your colleague, your TC, your assistant has been with you 9 years. I think Jen's actually my newbie. And Jen, how long have you been working with me? 5 years?
5 years.
6 years?
Yeah.
5 years. I think that speaks volumes about a number of things, like how well people work together. And I think my entire team would say I'm a great business owner and a terrible manager. And that's because, I don't know about the because, but I would say the direct result of that, where I've been able to modify and manipulate the way I work, is that I really seek out people that are not only autonomous and do their jobs and are able to do that without management, without supervision, certainly without micromanagement, but most importantly, that they actually move their jobs forward. They propel their jobs. Jen will come to me from time to time and say, hey, look, I'm going to slough these tasks that are mine off to our virtual assistant because you're paying me, 5-10 times what you pay her. And she can do the work now. I've trained her how to do it. And all of a sudden things shift because they are autonomous, because they are those kinds of colleagues. They are those kinds of team members. I guess that's really the best way to describe it, is that we do act as a team. And that's true in my mortgage space, and that's true in the coaching space. And I'm very, very fortunate, but I would like to think that has a little something to do with me. And I think hearing you say that about this colleague of yours that's been with you for so long, that probably says things about you as well. And that working for Tanya is probably a really cool gig.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think it's very important who you have on your team. But Jen and I, click very well together. We think the same way. She's often bringing many ideas to the team to improve us. And she, I'm kind of the one out there making things happen. But on Monday morning, she's cleaning all my messes up with getting all the paperwork in order and the phone calls returned. And she just does it all. And she does all the things that I'm really not good at. I like being, with my clients in front of them. And Jen's just better, like I said, handling all the paperwork and making sure all the important details are handled and that everybody's well communicated with. So we're a good fit together.
Nobody on my team ever has to clean up my messes.
Never, ever.
Never, ever. And Jen, I do think that it's pretty valuable to cover a little bit of this stuff. We don't get a lot of opportunity to talk about the team structure work that we do in our coaching program. We usually talk about the lead gen type stuff. So this is kind of a cool way to end our year with a guest that is in tune with this kind of stuff and how we identify those people, how we identify what tasks would be done best by whom, and how to really make sure that we're doing things like, one, adding people to our team that aren't going to create personality conflicts where we can all really jive together. That's a big one. And we can certainly talk about personality profile exams, for lack of a better term. Jen's a big Enneagram fan. Obviously, we've used DISC for decades, those kinds of things. But by being able to do it that way, and I'm guessing, Tanya, you and your Jen have a similar symbiosis for this, is that you guys can really figure out not only who's going to do what, but who wants to do what, who's going to be better suited to do what. And as a result, you're going to have better job satisfaction. You're going to have better longevity in your partnership, in your team, those kinds of things. And I think that that's really important stuff that we don't get to talk about a lot on the show. And Jen, you've certainly got some input. And for those of you that are regular watchers, listeners, Jen does have a sick child at home today. So I do want to bring her in and let her talk more than we probably should, because she may have to dart out at any moment and take care of that. But yeah, Jen, give us some insight. You're our newest team member after all these years.
So weird.
Still seems weird, right? And I think that you've probably been able to grasp how we do this and why it works and what's important. But considering your role and where you fit in, and that you have quite a bit of support from Mindy in our office and quite a bit of support from Julie, our virtual assistant, how does that look from your perspective when it comes to team structure and how we found you and how it melded in and how you and Mindy and Julie and I distribute tasks and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that our office has been built is exactly the ideal way. It's through referrals, right? I mean, you found me because of a colleague in Texas who had gotten a loan for my college roommate. And that's how we ended up finding each other. And then I think Mindy and Erica were both through Facebook groups, I believe.
Yeah, that's true.
And I always say that, I mean, the best people you're going to find are referrals from people you already know.
Sure.
And shout out to Rob Tate and he openly asks people, who do you know that I need to know? So credit where credit's due there. But as far as the personality tests, I love Enneagram, and I also give credit to my friend, Jessa Coker. She owns a vet office, and she does all of her hiring through Enneagram pretty much, because she knows how these people are going to act when they're thriving and when they're stressed out. And I mean, you can see it in our office. I'll use myself as an example. I'm an Enneagram 8. We are very hard to employ. We are a total pain in the ass.
Huge.
I'm regularly told that I better be my own boss in some capacity. So we're very independent. We're very much seek justice for other people. But I know when I'm stressed, I go to an Enneagram 5, which is very withdrawn, and I kind of shut down and I block other people out, and I lock out any of that sense of vulnerability. And I see it in myself. I know when I'm getting to those breaking points. And then the reverse, when I'm thriving, I go to more of an Enneagram 2, which is very giving and helpful. The 2s are the helpers. Sometimes they get run over because they're such helpers. But I see it in myself. And I think especially Mindy, because Mindy and I work together so much, she can see it when I'm starting to shut down and not ask for help because I'm in those times of stress. So I think it's really important, instead of just being like, what the hell, Jen? Why aren't you asking for help when you need it? Oh, Jen's stressed. That's why she's shutting down. This is when she needs somebody to say, here, let me just do this for you. Because again, with my personality type, I'm never going to ask you for help when I'm in those moments, ever. Whereas if you come in and say, let me take this off your plate. Okay, cool. So I could go on and on about Enneagram forever. But I think it's really important to know how your people act when they're thriving and act when they're stressed, and recognizing that it could have nothing to do with what's going on in the workplace, but they need support in different ways.
And Mindy is clearly watching the broadcast here, because she commented on, nope, she doesn't, meaning Jen does not ask for help when she's in that particular state. And Tanya, this kind of work, when we talk about bringing people in and meshing together and divvying up workload, tasks, etc. Is this something that you and your Jen worked on together, or have you guys been together for so long that that kind of activity in your team building didn't really exist the way it does today? And 9 years ago, that's probably fairly true. I don't think we had the hardcore focus on personality types and company culture, those kinds of things that we do today. Sure. But did you guys do that kind of thing, or was it just luck? And here we are 9 years later, really thriving together.
No, I mean, we definitely worked on it together. We worked on building systems together, and it's been very helpful because Jen, you had mentioned working, by referral. And we work that same way. All of my business right now is about 95% referral. It's been that way pretty much for about the last 8 years. But it's so beneficial to me because Jen knows personally almost all of our database. So when we're, they come back and we're doing more business together, or we do a lot of client functions. It's just so helpful because, again, Jen knows them. She knows them personally. Sometimes if I'm not busy, she's able to reach out to them, communicate with them. Again, because it's just so helpful to have somebody like that on your team. It's like being a family, like we're kind of a family. Our clients are family, and we all just work so well together.
Do the two of you ever fight?
We have never fought. And I think that's kind of strange for women, especially to middle-aged women. I mean, to be honest, but even her mom was commenting on that the other day because her mom has run several successful businesses over the years of how unusual this business relationship. I mean, it's also personal, but how unusual our relationship is. And it is a blessing because I have two sisters, and I could honestly say that. I mean, obviously I fought with them a lot, but Jen and I just never have got to that point. I think we communicate very well together. And I think I know when she's hitting the threshold, as Jen talked about, where I step in, or vice versa. She tends to be the calmer one than me. And less reactive. So she's diffusing, situations or clients, etc. So
that is fantastic. That is really a great fit. And we never fight.
Yes.
In my office, right, Jen?
Never.
Wink, wink.
No. Never.
No, we do. We definitely adopt a family environment. No question. Not your typical place to work. These people have all been in my home and those kinds of things. But yeah, there's plenty of opportunity for friction. I would consider my team more like siblings. And we certainly, in fact, I probably have more disagreements with my team in that kind of sibling environment than I do with my actual sibling, which is probably unique. Jen probably wouldn't say the same, but Jen's only sibling is actually Jen's neighbor.
That is true.
And they see each other a lot. My only sibling lives way across town, and we talk quite a bit, but we don't get all that much opportunity to see one another. And Jen and her brother probably see each other daily.
Close to it.
Close to it.
Daily. Okay.
We've also cultivated a culture where, for the most part, we could speak up, and we're not afraid to disagree with you when we need to. If I, Adam, why'd you post that on Facebook? You're totally fucking with the algorithm. I'm not afraid to tell you that.
This is true.
And I mean, I don't know if Erica's watching, but I think she'd speak to that too.
Oh, so Erica would not hesitate to put me back in my place when I get out of it. No question.
Never.
Yeah. I think the joke that we've made is that Erica's actually like having.
So, like, that is important.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think the joke is that Erica's basically like my wife. We fight and we don't have sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how that goes. Yeah, but it's and Erica's been with me a long time. Second
6 years.
Yeah, maybe more. Well, Di has obviously been there the longest, and that's probably getting close to 20 years. Sarah is probably at about 15. Those are going to be at the very long end. Well, and again, really by referral, I used to work with Di's husband. He was a mortgage originator back when we met. And Sarah was referred by a mortgage originator that worked in my office, well, probably about 15 years ago. Shout out to Felix if he ever catches the show. Haven't talked to him in a long time. So, yeah, I think that the way that we're all able to interact that way, I think the fact that we can do that together, that we can propel business forward, that we can not only move our own interpersonal relationships with one another forward, but obviously continue to build and strengthen relationships with clients and colleagues and referral partners all together, that we have this very team atmosphere, that we are really all driving towards a similar goal of, well, to be perfectly honest, just taking care of our clients. I don't think there's really a whole lot more than that single purpose focus. But it really does make for an enormous difference. I hate to say it. I have a colleague. She is in a very different space, and the turnover in her office, it's a legal practice. The turnover in her office probably rivals a restaurant. I mean, it is really, really difficult with legal secretaries and paralegals and so on and so forth. And she would not like me saying it, and she certainly didn't like me saying it to her, but I told her that she's the problem. That whatever is going on in her office, that shit rolls uphill, and she is in control of what kind of culture, what kind of environment, what kind of employer-employee relationship, what kind of workload, what kind of end result the people on your team are having. And I think it's really important to understand that those of you that are managing brokers, broker owners, branch managers, all of you sales managers, this is important stuff to understand, that you are the one driving that ship, and you need to make sure that you are putting people in that ship with you that are equally happy to drive, that you can rotate around with in that type of leadership and autonomy and so on and so forth. Because if you don't have that, you're going to suffer that. And the problem, and you had experienced this, Tanya, when you were talking about having a team that really wasn't your jam, is that you're constantly having to train, you're constantly having to manage, you're constantly having to review, etc. And we don't do that. It's the time spent on that kind of stuff, is the ROI just isn't there.
Well, it wasn't for me. And for me, I have found like putting that time to where I can go meet, and have coffee, lunch, or dinners with my clients or referral partners, really get to know them better. It was just time spent. I know I get kind of excited about it, but it took me a while to figure that out. But this time that I was spending with these people, I really enjoyed. I'm building these relationships, getting to know these people better, and my business just really flourished. And I was a lot more happy. I was able to spend more time with my family. I wasn't coming home so grumpy and irritated and frustrated. I really started to enjoy my job. And so for me, that was just the turn. I mean, I have a lot of really good friends that run successful large teams, and I think it's great, but it just wasn't for me. And I'm so glad that I made the change.
Well, and it sounds like you're actually getting to do the things that you want to do, that were probably driving factors for getting into real estate in the first place. And I think that escapes a lot of it. I mean, part of the reason that so many fail in the early years is because we don't really understand what the job is. obviously real estate school isn't going
Right.
to teach you that. Yes, you can learn about contracts and
Any of it.
inspections and all of those kinds of things, which is completely inapplicable if you don't have buyers and sellers anyway. That's the job, is to find buyers
Right.
and sellers, to do that networking, to have coffee, lunch, dinner with those people, to build relationships, to start new relationships, to deepen relationships, so on and so forth. And I think a lot of us, loan originators and real estate agents alike, kind of lose sight of that when we actually get into the
Mhm.
work. And we end up doing a lot of the work that your Jen is doing and that my mortgage transaction team are doing, those kinds of things, so that we can do the things we like to do, that we want to do, that are probably the reason we got into a business like this in the first place, which is really
Yeah,
a big deal.
absolutely.
But yeah, a lot of people lose sight of that and end up, well, doing work they don't want to do, doing work they're really not well suited for, and a complete
Mhm.
opposite of why they got into the business in the first place. That's, to me, that's the
Yeah,
crux of
100%.
it. Yeah, it's definitely a
Yep.
big struggle. All right, so Jen, tell us what's going on with the two of you. Not Jen, sorry, Tanya. Tell us what's going on with you and Jen, your Jen, for next year. What kind of cool plans do you guys have
Yeah.
in the works?
I mean, honestly, we're just kind of continuing through what we are good at, what we've been doing. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. We do have more plans to travel this year. So I'm kind of excited about that. So we're carving out time, more personal time for, our families, traveling, just doing some things as we are getting a little bit older that we love. A lot of times I put that on the back burner because I was so busy working and, having the kids, etc. So, but that's what we're learning on our goals and focusing this year is, we have set work days and we're still going to work hard, but we are carving out more playtime and most of all for both of us, travel time.
That is fantastic. I think that really speaks volumes for all of you listening, watching or listening. I really think that speaks volumes about Tanya, her business, her work with her Jen, to be in a mode right now at the end of what have been a couple of relatively difficult years. Certainly some of the more difficult years I've seen in this long span of doing this. And you too, Tanya, because we've been at this about the same amount of time. And barring maybe 2007 and 2008, this is probably a close second to how weird the real estate industry has been. Well, it's always weird. It's just a different kind of weird. It's funny because new agents are like, it's the most difficult time. I'm like, it's always difficult. It's just what kind of difficult and how well are you able to adapt?
No.
But I think that if we're literally
Right.
working this year on planning more personal time next year, then we're doing pretty damn well, which is really, really cool. So, Tanya, thank you. I know that we were going to burn through our good. I knew that we were going to burn through this time so quickly. So we're going to try and get you back on the show at a future date, Jen, if you would work that out with Tanya or with Jen in Tanya's office, however that happens to play out. And Jen, why don't you take us home? Tell us all the things. I know you're already working on social media day again. It's not even next year.
I know. Well, Christmas is a week away. Shockingly. I know. Social Media Day Denver will be Friday, June 14th, 2024. We bumped it up in the month a little bit for the next one. So we are looking for speakers and sponsors for that. So if you're interested in either one, shoot me an email at smdaydenver@gmail.com so we can chat. But if you want to find about all the things JTT, text tips to 63566. You can book one-on-one coaching with us. You can get copies of Adam's books. You can find the podcast, past episodes of the show, our weekly little tip, all the things. Just text tips to 63566.
Cool. Well, Tanya, thank you. I know carving out this kind of time on a Monday morning, particularly when you're busy, and hopefully things have mellowed out a little bit for you around the holidays so that you can enjoy that time. But I'm guessing you don't have any issues structuring your time properly that way. We probably wouldn't have you on the show if that were the case. And for the rest of you, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been an incredible year for Just the Tips, an incredible year for How I Met Your Mortgage. We've had some amazing guests. I think Jen and I have learned a ton from those of you, and certainly from all of you that do interact with us while we're doing the show live. Thank you so much for that. And we're going to take a couple of weeks off. I don't know when our next show is, but January for sure.
3 weeks off.
3 weeks. Wow. Okay. So that'll be a strange run for us. And I'm looking at your graphics here, Jen. We did 43 episodes this year. And we've been at this for a good long time. So thank you for that, Jen, as well. Because, hundreds of episodes of How I Met Your Mortgage later, we've gotten into a pretty cool groove. Signing off for one last time in 2023 from Just the Tips, How I Met Your Mortgage. I'm Adam Smith, my co-host Jen Waybor, and extra special thanks to our last guest of the year, Tanya Stevenson. Thank you, Tanya. And we will see you guys next time, next year. Happy holidays.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. And you guys have a wonderful new year, and we'll see you next time.